you know your school contact. And I will say for Hardin County students, Central, John, and North, parents just want you to know, and students should know, that all three schools have a Google Classroom set up with links to lots of information. So just talk to your student about that, please. And I'm going to turn it over now to Mr. Aris Cedeno from Governor Scholar.
My name is Aris Cedeno. You can guess from my accent that I am not from Kentucky. But I have been in Kentucky since 1991. So twice the age of the students coming this year to the Governor Scholars Program, almost. I came to Kentucky, I'm originally from Panama. Came to Kentucky via Michigan State, where I went to school, and my first job was the University of Louisville. And so, yeah, I'm not there anymore, but I can still do it. The first year at U of L, I applied to teach at a program called Governor Scholars Program. And I was assigned to a campus called Murray State University. I had no idea how to go to Murray. But you know from being in this area that you're the key point between Louisville and Murray, because after E-Town, that's it. You go Western Kentucky Parkway. And so I arrived in Murray, and the dean of my campus, GSP campus, says, Aris, this is not the end of the world. Because probably he saw my face, and I said, it's not the end of the world, but you can see it from here. After driving all these things. So when I go, and I'm saying this because you will hear me today when I explain that one of our campuses next year is Murray State. We are going back to Murray as one of our campuses. Our three campuses in the next 3 years will be Murray State, Morehead State University, and Centre College. So those are the three campuses. They bid for the honor and the privilege of hosting the GSP. And so we are going to Murray next year. What we will do tonight, you have received a packet of information that looks like if we go page by page, we'll be here tomorrow, until tomorrow. But I have to be at the airport by 4 o'clock this coming night. So I'm going to only promise that I'll give you the best tips to do an extraordinary application. The GSP is a free program. Many people think that in America we don't have free lunch, but this is free. And I guarantee you that it is free of charge. A few years ago, during one of the opening days of one of our campuses, somebody raised their hand at the parents' meeting and said, Aris, how's the food? And I say, it's free. How can you answer that question? It's not my taste, it's yours. But it is truly free. The state of Kentucky contributes about 75% of the funding, and we raise the rest for you to attend free of charge. All Kentucky counties will be represented. How many go to the state level? The application begins in your high schools. And the high schools have a number that they can submit to the district or to the state level later. And at the state level, we get approximately about 1,800 applications, and we accept 1,050 students. It is free of charge, but it is the application that gets you in. And that's what we are going to be talking tonight about, the application process. And I'm going to give you the definitions of the different sections and some tips on how to approach those sections. You will see in this package a lot of examples and samples for you to check at home. Okay? So we are not going to go page by page. On page number 1, you have The criteria. Who can apply? Those of you who are juniors in high school, in a Kentucky school, and you have an ACT or PSAT or SAT. There's no minimum required, but of course, you get points for your standardized test. You must be resident of the state of Kentucky, and you must return to a Kentucky school for your senior year. That is not to penalize anybody. What happens is this: if you attend the GSP after your junior year and you skip your senior year, you will not be eligible for the scholarships of the Kentucky colleges and universities. Attending this program does not require you to attend a Kentucky college and university, but we only work with Kentucky colleges and universities for the scholarships. It's their money, and so if you skip your senior year, you're not eligible for that, because by the time you finish the GSP, all that money is gone for that coming year, okay? On the second page, page number 2, at the bottom of page number 2, you have a framed information. That framed information tells you that if you are accepted, and you in turn accept our invitation to join the program, you come to us for 5 weeks. It is 5 weeks away from home. Mom, you will come on opening day, and you will leave your precious child in our able hands. And then you go home crying a little bit because you're very proud. Dad, you and Mom come 2 weeks later for family day. And then you go back home crying a little bit less now. And 3 weeks later, you come back for graduation. And then they cry. Annie, it's true, right? They cry, and they will tell you, Mom, I don't want to go home. Dad, can I stay for a few more days? No! After 5 weeks with these extraordinary students, and you're still 17 years of age, and for us, we need rest. Take them home and initiate after that your professional trajectory, for which you are extraordinarily qualified. Okay? So it's 5 weeks away from home, and it's 5 complete weeks. I am very passionate about the program. When I was at U of L, I reached all my ranks and I resigned to do this full time because my passion about the program. But I invite all of you to talk to the seniors in your high schools that attended the program this past year and get an idea from a student as well, not only from me. Mom and dad, family members, friends, talk to other members of the community whose children attended the program in the past. And maybe some of you here also attended the program. So I have one student from this past year who is going to talk on behalf of the class of 2022. And please welcome, are you Central Harding? I thought so. Please welcome Anne-Marie Yates from Central Harding High School.
Hi everybody, I'm Annie. So he gets to do the boring part, I get to do the fun part, I get to tell you what it's all about. So GSP, like he says, 5 weeks. So you think that's a long time. It really isn't when you're there. So before I went to GSP and when I was in your shoes applying, I had a lot of reservations about going. Originally, I didn't even want to go. My mom was the one who convinced me to apply. There was a lot of reservations, like I said, that I had time away from friends, not being able to train for tennis over the summer, just worried that I would miss out on a lot. But truly, whenever you're there, you can still have the opportunities not only to make new friends and work on whatever sport it is you're doing or your instrument, or if you do band, you're able to do all of that. I mean, just because you're away for 5 weeks doesn't mean that you don't get to experience a fun summer. So there's a couple of things that we had to do at GSP. They are called general studies classes and
Focus area.
focus areas. It's been a while. So my focus area was forensic science. So that is one of the ones that you get to choose in your application. You rank your top 3, it is, I believe. And I got my first choice, forensic science. So in there we did a lot of blood splatter analysis kind of things. We got to visit the Kentucky Crime Lab. We had cadaver dog demonstrations. It was a lot of fun. We were in there for several hours a week, and honestly, wouldn't trade it for half the other things, like the food there. Let's see, our general studies, so that is something that you don't get to pick. You are randomly assigned that whenever you attend GSP. So I got what is called Make It Make Sense, and a lot of these classes have very cryptic titles because you have no idea what they are when you're going into it. Mine was about the 5 senses. I had some friends who got Tuscan Polymath, and that was about African culture, and which you wouldn't think that goes hand in hand, but somehow it does. So for my general studies, we got to cook. We visited KSD, so the Kentucky School for the Deaf. We visited Kentucky School for the Blind. We got to do all sorts of things that had to do with the senses, and not only is it doing fun activities, but it's getting to delve into the learning aspects of that as well. Not only did we have classes, but we got to have free time as well. So that was always fun. Extended perimeter is one thing that we always look forward to. That is twice a week. So on Center's campus, you got to go into surrounding Danville area, and you could shop, you could eat, you could just hang out. That was a lot of fun. Let's see. We also had clubs. So the clubs that I joined were Scary Movie Club, which I was forced into that by my roommate. Don't suggest that. There was Taylor Swift Club, which was a lot of karaoke to Taylor Swift, and surprisingly, the majority were boys in that club. And then finally, Swing Dance Club, which does not sound like fun, maybe to you males, but trust me, it's a lot more fun than you think, and half the campus ends up coming and you flood the center parking lot. So there were also opportunities to go to church while you were there, or any other religious affiliation that you go to. We had Kroger runs, there was a whole bunch of stuff. And the nice thing about having those 5 weeks away from your family, no offense to you parents, but we like our independence, and that 5 weeks gave us a little taste of what college is going to be like. And that's part of what I loved about it. Not only do you get to make close friends, but you also get to just enjoy the atmosphere of being around people your age who are like you. Let's see. I think that was about it. Oh, there's another thing. So showcases, that's something we do every week. It's kind of like a talent show, but we can't call it a talent show because you're at GSP and everyone is equal. So my showcase performance personally was with my entire hall, which people, if you're my age, you know the Ho Down, Throw Down by Miley Cyrus, that fun dance. Maybe you know it, maybe you don't. But so we did that. There are tons of different things. So people did dancing, singing, different group skits. I think someone at Moorhead in my school, they told me they just sat on stage and ate a banana for 5 minutes straight. That was their showcase performance. So it's a whole bunch of interesting things, and honestly, GSP is such a great opportunity, and it's amazing that we're given this opportunity by all of our contributors. And you just need to apply, because even if you don't go, it's still giving you that experience of making the application, and not only does that help you for college applications down the road when you can just copy and paste a little bit that you wrote, but it's just if you don't apply, you won't get the opportunity to go. And it's such an amazing experience, and it's kind of hard to put into words, but everyone that has been to GSP will tell you it's a community, and we love all that we have done over the 5 weeks that we are there. And yes, it seems like a long time, but truly it goes by in a blink. So, yeah. Anyways.
Thank you, Annie. Stay here, stay here, stay here. Okay. Thank you, Annie. 2 things here. I'm going to recognize you on behalf of the GSP as one of our Scholar Community Ambassadors. And also, let me ask you one question before you go, because I'm going to talk to them about this. What was your score last year when you applied to the GSP?
It was a 27.
No, that's your ACT.
Oh, my ACT score.
The total GSP score.
I think it was like, I don't know.
She doesn't know, you don't know.
I don't know.
That's correct. You don't know and you are not supposed to know. That's important for what I'm going to talk to you now because of the nature of your minds and how your mind works. Annie mentioned forensic science was her class. There's no ranking. First of all, you don't rank. You choose 3, and then you get one of the 3. In your mind, your choice number 1 was forensic science, but you cannot mark 1, 2, and 3. You choose 3, and those classes are listed on pages 3, 4, and 5. And you choose up to 3, no, you choose 3, and then we'll assign you to one of those 3. And we don't ask you to rank because it's impossible to have all of you doing engineering or forensic science or healthcare industry, which are the favorite classes to be selected. There are more sections for those classes, but I always encourage that you choose at least one class outside. Take the intellectual risk to do something else. There are no grades in the summer. Your grades come in this competition. There are no grades or academic credits in the summer. You apply, you are accepted, you accept us, you come for 5 weeks, you get your diploma. You participate in all that, and you will be building extraordinary relationships with the future generations of leaders of this Commonwealth and the country and beyond. On page 6, you have the timeline. As I mentioned before, the application process begins in your high school. So you get to talk to your counselor or the counselor in charge of the GSP at your high school so that you get to know when the school deadline is. These deadlines here are for the state. So you need to know that your applications will be due in the schools much earlier than January. Most likely in some schools where there's only one school, E-Town, Fort Knox, the North Harding Christian, you will have only one school in the competition at that level. If you are in the county schools here, that is North Harding, John Harding, Central Harding, then you apply in the school, and the school will send it to a central district, and then the central district will send it to us. So listen to the deadlines that they will tell you. I want you to check at the bottom of page 6 the dates for next year 3 sessions. The first session begins June 18 and ends July 22nd, and so on. You can see the 3. We staggered the 3 sessions so that if there is a valid conflict of time conflict, then you can choose. The general rule is that you cannot choose your campus. We assign your campus. But if you are, for instance, there's a valid reason for you as a student to request, if you are a member of the marching band or any sports team that requires, or any other team in the school that requires that you attend a summer session at the end of the summer, you will be able to request session number 1. So you get out on time to do your other camps. Another example, if you are participating in a school trip abroad, or your church has a trip, mission trip somewhere else, you can do that, and then most likely you will be able to request when you return, you attend sessions number 2 or number 3. What cannot happen is for you to arrive late or depart earlier, because we have so many people that can take the 5 weeks. So family vacations and family reunions, mom and dad, we cannot grant those as valid reasons. I mean, you can try to ask, but we'll tell you no. We'll be nice, though. On page 7, you have the breakdown of the 100 points. 100 points that comes in different sections here. 30 points for your academic achievement. You can see the specific breakdown for the 30 points of the academic achievement. Then 30 points for the student profile, and 20 points for the writing entry, and 20 points for 2 letters of recommendation. What is in your hands? The first 30 points, by the time of application, you have done it. Okay, you can see that you have your GPA, that you will have your ACT, PSAT, or SAT, and the counselor will mark the difficulty of course load based on the opportunities in your high school individually. In your hands, applicants for next year, future leaders of Kentucky, in your hands, the 30 points of the student profile, extracurriculars, service, honors, and I'm going to go into details of each section in a few minutes. In your hands also, the 20 points of the writing entry. That means in your hands are 50 of the 100 points, not 100 points. 100, that's because 30 are done before. And then the recommendations in the hands of the recommenders. But we are going to talk about each of those sections. It is based on 100 points. I asked Annie what was her score, and she doesn't know, because if I tell you the scores of the students over the years, and we have been 40 years in existence, next summer is our 41st. If I tell you the highest score ever, the students that are here will say, oh no. The highest score ever was in 1999, 86 points. Okay? And if 86 is the highest, that's the number 1. And then we go down from there. Traditionally, this past year there was an 85. This past year, maybe you, Annie, who knows? There was an 85 this year, and I don't remember where, but there was an 85. Why? This is not to penalize. When you apply to college, when you compete with points, specifically in college, you have students who are the A students at the top, and you have the B students, and you have the C students, and they all go to college, regardless. In the GSP, so that in college the competition is vertical. In the GSP, everybody is an A student, and the competition is all here. So when mom says and calls me and says, my daughter didn't make it, and she's the valedictorian of the class, I will go to the application and say, but your daughter didn't say this, and your daughter didn't say this, so the application is important. And what you say is key, and how you say it is key. If you have doubts of something that doesn't count, say it. Don't skip it. Say it. Don't forget what I'm telling you now. Let the GSP judges decide if it counts or it does not count. Because our judges are instructed not to take points off if it doesn't count. If it doesn't count, the judges simply ignore that. There are things that don't count, but it's better to say it than to be sorry that you didn't say it and it was, we were able to count it. So I'm just going to tell you one thing that doesn't count. within the honors section. You can say the big honor of having your driver's license for the first time. It doesn't count. But you can say it. If it makes you feel better, say it. We don't take points off, but we don't give you any points for that. I'll come back to honors. And so keep in mind that the type of mind and the type of student that you are, you will be aiming at 100. Forget about the points. Big advice. Focus on writing the application and let others judge that. And make sure that somebody review and revises your applications as well. Let's talk about the first of the sections. Well, on page 11, you have the actual points you are going to get for your ACT, PSAT, or SAT, and your GPA. You will see right now, and some of you will say, Mom, I'm already losing points. Everybody will. And it's your responsibility then to balance the weakest sections that you have with the strongest sections that you do. And therefore, don't you worry about that. Don't you worry about the points. Worry about the application. It's what's important. That's why we are here today. Let's talk about extracurriculars. On pages 16 to 21, you have one section that is called extracurricular activities. Let me tell you that you have samples and examples here that you can see at home that will guide your writings. Let me define to you how we consider extracurriculars. Anything that you have done or you do outside your classroom contact hours. It could be extracurriculars related to school. Those clubs that you have at school, the sport teams, the academic team, debate, marching band, newspaper, all those things are extracurriculars related to school. But it could be related to community. You participate in the choir at church. You play the violin in events and so on. So it could be outside school as well. There are parameters. There are parameters there in terms of what counts in terms of timing, when you did it. The instructions will tell you that it's anything in this category that you have done in 9th, 10th, and 11th grade. How we consider outside those 3 years. Anything you have done or you did in the summer prior to your freshman year, meaning between 8th and 9th grade, in that summer, you can count it. So don't begin with 9th, begin with the summer prior to 9th. It's accepted. Also, if you began with something earlier than 9th, much earlier when you were in elementary or when you were in middle school, and you are still doing it now, you are going to tell us when you began. Don't limit to the 3, because you began much earlier, and that is important. What does not count is anything that you did before the summer prior to 9th, and you stopped there, okay? So anything that you are doing outside the classroom contact hours count here.
So for anything that was started, let's say in elementary school, where it says grades 9, 10, 11, do you keep it 9, 10, 11 and
No.
use your wording in the description to say?
I began. That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
You keep the 9, 10, 11, you don't put 7 or 5th or
No,
whatever?
but you tell us when you began.
Correct.
You tell us when you began, because it's important to see there's a big commitment that you are doing here. You're not doing this for 3 years, you're doing this for 10 years. So that's more important, okay?
Gotcha.
Okay. Let's talk about I always say in extracurricular activities, you have to demonstrate leadership and versatility. Leadership and versatility. Now, leadership is not a title, it's an action. And you have to describe what you do, how you do it, how you feel, how you help others. You can see the examples and follow the instructions. On pages 22 to 26, you have a section called service. Same thing, samples, examples, and so on here. How we define service. Anything that you do to help others. You may think that you don't have enough, and it could be voluntary or paid. If you work to help yourself, to save money to buy your car, to save money to go to college, or to save money, or to use money to help your family, you're still building your character through work. So, work or paid or voluntary. Some of you may think that you don't have enough in this section, and I want to tell you that you do. And I will explain how to consider service overall. In the last 2 years and a half, not so much right now, but in the last 2 years when the pandemic, that wonderful lady that came around 2 years ago, not so wonderful for many of us. When pandemic hit, many of us had no idea what virtual was. Especially people like my age or older or some younger than me. We had no idea about these platforms that we call Zoom and Teams and all that. And who helped us during those 2 years? These young people. Service. You were helping people. You did that for many people. Think about the times when your grandmother or grandfather could not go to the supermarket during those times when they were afraid of going out. Who did help them? Younger people. So think about all that. How many of you don't have to raise your hand, but just think about that. How many of you do babysitting? Mom, you cannot tell me that that's not a great service. Okay? Babysitting paid or for home. So consider everything you do to help others. Ultimately, if you don't have enough in your mind, I think you do, but if you don't have enough in your mind, undertake some things. There's enough time right now to help others or join organizations in your community to serve meals during Thanksgiving, help the kids during Halloween in your neighborhoods, plan for an angel tree in Christmas. So there's a lot of opportunities. You like animals? Volunteer at a clinic, at a shelter, vet clinics or shelters. Do some things and take the initiative to show that you have enough service. It's important. I'm going to go. I know that you may be thinking right now of some activities and you don't know if they are service or they are extras. I'll come back to that potential question. On pages 28 to 31, you have this section of honors and awards. We define those two words in two different ways. Honors are those recognitions for which you don't have a concrete evidence. And awards are recognitions for which you have concrete evidence. In some cases, you have a trophy. That's an award. In some cases, you have a letter or a diploma or a certificate. Those are awards. But you may have nothing to show that you were recognized. That's an honor. If you were chosen to sing the national anthem at a football game, and All what you got was the applause. You don't have an award, but you have the honor of having been chosen. So honors and awards, anything for which you have been chosen, selected, or elected. Chosen, selected, or elected, whether you have concrete evidence or not. If the pastor or the minister of your church asks you to redo all that and rework on Sunday school, and you did all that, and all what you got from all the work was the applause in front of the congregation, you did a good service. That's an extracurricular too, and you got the recognition. You didn't get the evidence. So you have the honor of being asked. What happens with the judges at the state level? Extracurricular has 3 judges that don't see anything else. Honors and awards have 3 judges that don't see anything else. Service has 3 judges that don't see anything else. But they want to know the whole you, the entire you. There are activities that may cross the line between service and extracurriculars or service and honors or so. If that happens, you need to repeat. You need to repeat. Based on the instructions, you will repeat. I'll give you a couple of examples. Your AP teacher in biology asked you to help tutor, like peer tutoring, the teacher's freshman class. And you do that. You were asked to do that. That is an honor because you were chosen. You do the tutoring outside classroom contact hours. It is an extracurricular. And you are helping younger students. That is service. So it's one single activity that you can put into 3 different categories. One more example. You are a member of a team, whether it's academic team or sports or debate or a marching band, whatever it is, you're a member of the team, that is an extracurricular activity. Sometimes those teams undertake fundraising activities to help a specific cause. That is service. And it so happens that you were selected, elected, or chosen captain, treasurer, president. That's the honor. So there are activities that you can do more than one section, but for that matter, you need to begin the application earlier. I advise that you tackle every section during 2 weeks. Beginning tomorrow, you begin collecting your information for, extracurriculars, typing. Don't leave this to the end. It shows. It's a long application, and I always say this. You are an outstanding student. But being an outstanding student comes with hard work, and you have been doing that. But so, we are the best. We need to show also that we are the best. And you are. You are. Let's talk about the writing entry on pages 32 to 35. On page 32, you have the writing entry, general instructions. On page 33, you have the rubric, very detailed rubric that the judges use. On page 34, you have the specific steps. And on page 35, you have 6 prompts, and you choose 1 prompt. A few tips here. Tip number 1, whatever prompt you choose, make sure that you adapt that prompt to your own story. Tell us about you. This is not called an essay. This is not a paper. This is a writing entry. And the difference is that we want to hear about you. It's 500 words. And whether you think it's too much, I don't think it is. This is my area of expertise as a professor, is writing and reading in literature. 500 words is nothing, okay? It goes fast. And if you choose, for instance, prompt number 2, which is about curiosity, and you begin by doing this, look, this happened last year because this is the only prompt that is being repeated from this past year. And people began by doing this. The Webster Dictionary says that curiosity is blah, blah, blah. And there were 15 words right there. What do you say that I cannot read? I can go to the dictionary, and the judges know that. It's not helping you. That helps you in a paper, but not in a writing entry. A writing entry, tell us about your story. Put yourself in those shoes. On top of that, Webster Dictionary, the second paragraph began, the cat killed, the curiosity killed the cat, whatever, you know the adage. And when it came at the end, when the judges were already laughing about that because everybody said the curiosity killed the cat. And so how do we make a difference in terms of points when everybody's saying the same thing? And that's why we advise that you put yourself in that story. There are wonderful stories. You have, even within your 16, 17 years of age, extraordinary trajectories, families, communities, experiences that you can adapt to one of those. Don't take this essay as an exam, like a test. Don't take it like a test that you are going to answer what we are asking you. No, take it as an opportunity to write something about you. And the next tip is to find at least two readers. Two different readers. A professional reader, like that's what I do for my living. I read papers, I write, I read and teach composition and all those things. And so I am a professional reader because reading is what I do for a living. The disadvantage of having a reader like me, there's tons of advantages, but the disadvantage is that I focus on punctuation, question marks, capital letters, and syntax, and grammar, and vocabulary. This is the focus that a professional reader will do. And that's important, but that's only 50%. The other 50% is content. So you also need a reader that reads for pleasure, reads a lot for pleasure. And that reader will advise you in terms of content. But don't just go without an advice. Because what we see in terms of those students who lose points, more points in the writing entry, is that they forgot one important aspect of writing, the reader's mind. You write for you, then that doesn't count. You need to write for somebody to read it. And so this is a writing entry. Importantly, you need to do that part, okay? On pages 37 to 41, you have samples and examples for the teacher recommendation. And pages 43 to 48, you have samples and examples of the community recommendation. I'm going to take those two sections together and explain you what it means, teacher recommendation. All of you, my conviction is that all of you know who's the teacher that you want to ask for that recommendation. And you do well on that. The teacher will focus on you as a student. That's half of who you are. But you are also an individual. You're also a citizen. You're also a member of a community. And so the community recommender will focus on you, not as a student. And that's important because when you tell me or you ask the question, can I ask the coach? Absolutely, if you want the coach. But remember, the coach knows you in that sports, but within the school. And they know you as a student. And that is really not sometimes, unless the coach knows you personally. Yes, ma'am.
So, like, if he's got a job or whatever, so he, for like the community, he could have.
I'm going to, yes, ma'am. It could be from somebody where you work. It could be somebody in church. It could be your neighbor. If a neighbor saw you growing up and since you were 2 or 3 years of age, and the neighbors knows you well, it's somebody in the community, and the title of that person does not matter. Because some of you may think, oh, I'll get my state representative of my senator. The important thing is that person in the community knows the student well. Mom and dad, you are wonderful. But remember, it's not about you. Some recommenders begin by saying, how do you know this student? Well, I work with his dad. I work with her aunt. And then begin describing the relationship at work with mom and dad, and that is not giving you any points. It's about the student. In this competition, the whole thing is about you as a person. And in this whole competition, who you are and what you do are two important facets of the competition. Don't delay the asking of the recommendations. I'm going to tell you that I have written many recommendations in my life. I have come to understand that there are two types of students, and they are both wonderful, but they are different. Student A comes to see me face to face, most likely, in my office or in the hall, or in the classroom at the end of the class and says, hey, Aris, everybody calls me by my first name. Aris, can you write me a letter of recommendation? I say, yes. And student A says, you know me in the classroom, but you know, I do many other things, so here's a half page of my resume so that you know that, who I am also. It's important. And student A says, Aris, I know you are good with computers, but I want to tell you, this is the link to the recommendation. And student A also says, I even took the liberty to print a copy of the mission of the program, of the mission of the institution that I'm applying to. You know what that student did? That student saved me the time to begin thinking really about the letter. I don't have to spend time looking for anything else. And on top of that, the student says, it's due November 1st. How wonderful. Many of you know that. Student B, or C in some cases, texted me on a Monday night. I accept text from students. I'm not one of those faculty members at U of L that don't. If you need to text me, text me. The student texts the word recommendation. Knowing me that I'm so picky about question marks, The student must have been very stressed at that moment because forgot the question mark and the capital letter. It's a text, but English is still English. In my mind, language is still language. So I answered back, and not to embarrass the student, I said when, no capital letter and no question mark. Waited for 3 minutes, and the student typed back and says, just few words, tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. I wrote that letter, but it's difficult. And if that happens to you, you risk your name correctly spelling. You risk to begin being Robert and end being Mary. Because we use templates and we adapt. Many of us who write letters we have tons of templates and we look for a template and then adapt it to you. But I don't have any other information other than what my memory here. Don't do that. Because then those recommendations show not good. Give the recommender. So begin looking for that. It's not in your hands. All what you have to do is choose and guide them to write a good recommendation. The teachers do know that, and they know the GSP, many teachers, so they do that. That is the application, and I will be happy to answer questions at the end of the session. Annie helped here by telling you a lot about the campus. Campus are safe. You will have access to the supermarket. You have free food. Medical circumstances, if you are worried about allergy shots or something, we are prepared. It's been 40 years for all these questions that people sometimes say, I don't know if this is no, tell us what the circumstances are and we'll work with you. Church, Annie mentioned that you can go to the church of your denomination on the campuses where you are assigned. Mom or dad, you will realize as soon as you get home that your daughter or your son forgot something. It's 5 weeks. They can wash the clothes, but they come home, send me this and that, Send the packages. On any given day, we get about 125 packages per campus. And some of the students will call you and say, Mom, everybody's getting a package. I am not. Send me something. And you are so nice, and then you go to grandma, and grandmother bakes cookies. And you send the cookies. But when you do that, don't forget that we like cookies too. And we are working with them, okay? It is important to create this community. There are rules and regulations, and some of the rules and regulations are there for the well-being of the community. Those rules, if violations happen to these rules, will send you home. We have not done this in many times in 40 years. The last time we did that, one student was in 2016. But in 40 years we have, because the type of students you are, you understand rights and responsibilities. But the rules are there. No firearms, no drugs, no alcohols, and those rules that make sense. There are other rules, and for these other rules, you may have, all of you are future leaders of Kentucky, you're not going to like some of these rules. I understand that. Talk to the other students. You will not be able to bring your computer. I'm not going to see your faces. You will have access to computers at home. On campus. Yes, you will. There are computers on campus and computer labs and in the halls, and so you have access. But don't think that you're going to bring yours and then you're going to stay hooked to your little sister called computer. So If you cannot detach yourself from your little sister that we call computer, then you give the opportunity to other students. That's absolutely a decision to be made. Cell phones. You can bring the cell phones. Ooh, wait, not so fast. You keep the cell phones in your rooms. You don't go with the cell phones outside. Keep in mind that a free program for you to do that, we cannot spend that money on people who are just not going to be engaged. And that's your choice. But for that matter, talk to other students, not so much parents. Talk to other students and ask about that rule. I'm going to tell you something. 25 and 30 years ago, when I began with the GSP in 1992 and there were no cell phones, the big announcement here would have been, you cannot bring your TV. 25 years from now, when somebody else stands here, they're going to laugh about the cell phones. Okay? Remember, the cell phones and the computers change every year. Now you have Apple 14 or whatever number it is, right? Because the line the other day was way outside the mall waiting for the 14. And next year will be the 15, and so on. And your mind grows and never changes. Keep in mind that your mind grows and grows and grows, and you never change your mind. I mean, in terms of the whole function here, right? And that is what the GSP will be focusing on, using your mind to communicate. So we are not opposed to the cell phones or the computers. We are opposed to the fact that you need to use more of this, okay? And you have an extraordinary one. Use it. And so talk to others about that. Quante? I'll be happy to answer questions later also, but we want to recognize you. You're being so nice to come here to listen to us. So we're going to give you a letter of recognition from us, telling you that you are an extraordinary student qualified to apply for the GSP, where to go on the website, and so on. So the way I will do this, in the interest of time, I'm going to ask that the students line up on both sides here by school. Don't you worry about the alphabet, because you're going to begin, what's your last name? I'll call you alphabetically, but just stand there, because otherwise we'll be here tomorrow by you asking everybody for the alphabet. So don't worry. On this side, some of you will line up on this side. I'm going to do, and don't go yet, just listen to where you're going to be. North Harding Christian will begin here. North Harding Christian High School, don't go yet. Followed by Fort Knox, E-Town, and John Harding. So if you are in one of those schools, please go. Don't worry about the alphabet, just stay there. North Harding Christian, Fort Knox, E-Town, and John Harding. In this case, we're going to clap because I have only one student from North Harding Christian, Sarah Francis. Yeah, I have two students from Fort Knox, so hold the applause until we recognize both of them. Keely O'Brien, come in, Keely, and Julianne West. Wait, who's the last one from E-Town? Okay, you. Okay, so I know that. And you keep walking, all of you keep walking when we call your names, okay? It's alphabetically here. Remember, I forgot to tell you that. The person reading your names is not from Kentucky. Elizabethtown High School. Everett Boyer. Morgan Dyer. Stella Fox. Logan Foy. Paul Jasper. Mr. Foy. Thank you. Paul. Jacob Cast. Cameron McCullough. Thank you. Avery Powers. Hugh Stevenson. Elizabeth Town High School. Before I recognize those students from John Harding High School, I would like for all of us to recognize Maggie Vogel. Is Maggie here today? Yeah, Maggie, thank you so much. So thank you for your help. John Harding High School. Mr. Lee, is it Sojourn Lee. Fiona Moody. Nazara Morgan. Miss Morgan, you say Nazara? Nazara. Ashley Reisner. Is it Reisner? Yeah. Reisner? Jeremy, is it Selby? Selby. Is it Selby or Selby? Gautam Singh. Layla Ulrich. Is it Ulrich? Yes, thank you. John Harding High School. If you are, now I'm going to call the last two schools here. If you are North Harding High School and Central Harding High School on this side. North Harding and Central Harding. Let me recognize the school counselor from North Harding High School, Jamie Chidwood. Jamie, thank you so much. High Achieving Juniors from North Harding High School, Francel Beal. Miss Choi, or come here, tell me how you pronounce your first name. No, you can go, Francel. Choi. Chi-he Choi. Jacob Clark. Peyton, is it Costas? Peyton Costas. Mercedes Dorben. Mason Howard. Anastasia Morse. Alexandra Plaza Muniz. With an Enya? No Enya, like my last name. Alexandra. Lyric Reynolds. Daniel Rosenberger. Mitchell, is it Scholas? Schoolas. Jonathan Stewart. Adriana, is it Tantillo? Tantillo. Aiden Wenzel, probably mom is here, will give it to you. So, North Harding High School. Central Harding, and is Whitney today here? Whitney Carpenter is the school counselor at Central Harding. High Achieving Juniors, and as I call you, you can begin moving, okay, closer. Brianna Blankenship. Sarah Bowers. Jordan Bryan. Lillian Kraft. Ella Crowder. No Ella here. Brandon Dennis. Dakota Goodman. Tyler Grace. Mr. Grace. Sawyer Hess. Sydney Higdon. Ella, Miss Ella, that's Hosted or Hosted? Hosted, Ella. Stuart Knight. Meadow McGimsey. Hannah Minter. Sky Newsom. Sky. Olivia Newton. Wyatt, is it Enwin? Just Win. Wyatt. There you go. Dawson Probst. Thomas Ray. Erin Riney. I'm going to call the names because I have 3 letters and I have 1 student here. I'm going to call all the names. Zachary Townsend, Kayla White, Landon Wood. Central Harding High School. Thank you so much for coming tonight. Remember, I am not an American citizen by birth. I love the country and I'm here as a citizen now, but by choice. This opportunity given to high achievers does not happen everywhere else in the nation. There are only about 13 states with governor schools. Kentucky has the largest, 1,050, and 2 more, GSA and GSE. You know about that, 2. Governor School for Entrepreneurs and Governor School for the Arts. It's free of charge, and it's 5 weeks. Ours is 5 weeks. The other ones are 3 weeks each, also free of charge. This doesn't happen anywhere. Georgia accepts 660, free of charge. Arkansas, 400, free of charge. Pennsylvania, about 200 total right now, all of them pay $2,500. New York, almost $5,000 now to pay. Over the years, we all began free. We all began free. At the end, so keep in mind that this is an extraordinary opportunity. At the end, with your permission, we'll provide your names to schools in Kentucky, colleges and universities. You may choose to go somewhere else, but that's not a reason. If you're going to choose to go somewhere else, that's not a reason not to apply for the GSP. There are 3 misconceptions about the GSP. Number 1, that we are an academic program. Academics are important, extremely important to us, but we are more than that. We are an intellectual experience. Misconception number 2, that we want to keep the best and brightest in Kentucky. If you stay, that's great. About 83% of my graduates stay here, but you don't have to. And number 3, that we provide scholarships. We don't. The colleges and universities provide that based on the fact that you have completed the GSP, and you can check the list of what colleges and universities offer right now in our website. Thank you so much. May you all be blessed as the fall season begins tomorrow with a 90-something heat index, okay? So thank you so much for coming. If you have any questions, I'll be here.